Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So, we do have another Snake Eye video, and I know there are people out there who are probably like, oh, rolling their eyes on their Snake Eye vid. But it's not without reason. We did get another Challenger Cup top. So, for this one, we're going to look at the Swiss rounds. I did manage to go 5-0 undefeated in Swiss again. So, we're going to look at the Swiss rounds. I didn't actually save the Top Cut games this time. I gotta be honest with you, mostly because I was pretty disappointed with how I played in Top Cut. Even my top 8 match against Chamberlain, which I did end up winning, playing against the deck that I don't normally play against just totally threw me off my game. And I just played so sloppily, right? Like, I only even really won the top 8 match because I switched out some cards in my build last minute to bring in stuff like Twin Twisters and Red Reboot, because of course I was against a Chamberlain deck, right? Also, for those who don't know, in a Challenger Cup, you can freely switch between builds as much as you want, not only between Swiss rounds, but between best of one as well, right? So, we didn't have to submit a side deck. Basically, your whole collection is your side deck. So, and then top 4 round, I played so sloppily. I don't know, it's something that I'm trying not to be too hard on myself for, because, you know, there's a lot of people who would kill to have topped 5 Challenger Cups, right? There's a lot of people who really, really want that. And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, well, I can't get past top 4, or I can't get second, but I really wanted one of those rescue habits at the same time. So, I think when it comes to tournament performance, that is a lot of the work of it, right? Is managing and maintaining your expectations, even as you meet them. Like, that's definitely something, you know, that like not a lot of people talk about, but like, you know, when I first started this Challenger Cup season, I was like, if I get 1 top, I'll be fine. And then I got my first top in the first tournament, and I'm like, okay, well, shit, now I kind of want 3. And then I got 3. And then after that, I'm like, oh, God, okay, now I really just want to win one. It's so funny to think, like, it's a very human thing, right? You think you'll be satisfied with 1 goal, but then once you meet that, you're kind of like, oh, I could do more, too. So, the other thing I did want to talk about here, I'm not talking really much about the build here because it's the same build we've been playing. So I do talk about it more in depth I'll just link my other tournament reports in the description below. I should make them into a playlist, actually, duh, and I can link that in the description below. If I haven't done that yet, if you don't see it in there, feel free to yell at me in the comments. I'll go ahead and do that. But, yeah, not talking much about the build here because, like, for me personally, like, there are a ton of different ways you can play Snake Eye. I don't think there's any one solved build. But for the builds that I like to play, this is, like, very solved for me. I think for best of one especially, like, this is about as good as a synchro-based Snake Eye list is gonna get. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I've been very impressed with it. And, I mean, the results show, too. Like, I have not changed this build since Bonfire came out, since the 2nd Challenger Cup top, and we're now on the 5th. So, this build has definitely been performing. Like, there's no question in my mind about that. But the other thing I wanted to address real quick is that, I know, as I think I mentioned already, this is actually my 3rd take of this video, so I don't remember if it was in this take or not, but as I may or may not have mentioned already, I know there are some people out there who are watching this, they're probably kind of like rolling their eyes and like, oh, it's Snake Eye again, you're still just playing the best deck of the meta. And, you know, I normally don't play the same deck more than like 3 times in a season as far as like videos go, so I know that there's been a lot of fatigue with it, this being the 5th one. I don't know, it's funny, because I'll have friends who have been asking, like, oh, you've been doing so well in tournaments, it's gotta be really good for your YouTube channel, right? And the answer is actually no, funnily enough. As far as, like, number of new subscribers within the last month, and also views, has kind of been one of my worst months. And I definitely can acknowledge it. It's because the YouTube sphere definitely prefers casual content. I mean, I see in the comments, too. I see people always asking, like, hey, can you play this casual deck? Can you play this casual deck? And I see the comments that are very expected of, like, oh, you're playing Snake Eye. Well, of course you won. Come back with something interesting. And it's like, you know, those kind of comments, like, whatever. People are going to hate. But at the same time, I do think it is valid to be like, all right, you've played so much of this. So, I just really wanted to say thank you to everyone who's been watching all of these tournament report videos. Like, I mean, I've seen the views, too. They're just going down and down the more I post, which is a little disheartening to, like, I will say it is a little bit disheartening for me to be so excited about how well I'm doing and, like, not see that as reflected as I would like in the YouTube views, but I don't want to discount those of you who are viewing. I just want to thank you so very much for watching these tournament reports and just for being interested in competitive Master Duel. Because again, I've always made, you know, if I wanted to make a YouTube channel about Master Duel for views, I would just play, you know, I would just do the Hajime Duel, look at me beat Sword Soul with Exodia with no commentary while Passionate Duelist plays. Like, I see those videos still getting like tens of thousands of views, and that's just not what I'm about, you know? I'm more interested in the like actual competitive game. That's not just to discount people who are more interested in casual stuff. That's also equally valid. But I guess what I'm getting at here is if you are also as interested in casual or competitive, rather, Yu-Gi-Oh as I am, and you've been watching these videos, I really want to say thank you. It does mean a lot. So yeah, while I didn't save the top cut games from this tournament, I do have all 5 Swiss rounds, and I did actually manage to go 5-0. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to pop over here to the replays, and we'll go ahead and start taking a look at those. Should be down here, yes. So we had 5 pretty good matches, honestly, as far as like good, for the most part, good back and forth games, and also opponents who just played very well. So our first opponent was Pharaoh Shuffle, I believe is their name, PS. Looks like they are on Tearlaments. Pretty solid looking list here. Let's pop into this game. Yeah, there's only one match I can think, or one game, rather, here I can think of that was just kind of a bit of a blowout. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Love anyone else who's also rocking the Ghost Trick board. Love to see it. So we're going to be taking the first turn here. Opening hand is pretty solid. We got Wanted plus Original Sin, so I definitely can't complain too much about that at all. Going to pitch one of our imperms here for the Diabel. I decided to do that just in case, like, this got gammaed, right? If my Diabel got gammaed here, I could still normal summon Veiler and then send it for Original Sin. That's why I sent the extra Imperm and not the Veiler. Anyway, they do have the Ash Blossom for the Original Sin, so that's going to end up getting negated. We have the Wanted set. I'm going to use the Wanted here to actually get an extra draw, just to see if I can top deck Snake Eye Ash. I don't get Snake Eye Ash, but I do get Divine Temple, which I can use to place the Snake Eye Ash, so there's that if nothing else. We also have the Wanted for potential plays on the follow-up turn. Gonna have to hope that Veiler plus Imperm gets us there, but against most decks it will if you use them right. They're gonna Pearl Rhino for the Shiren, set up the Scream, Shiren pitch the Tear Cash. Tear Cash is gonna mill, and the Scream also mill some more cards here as well. I'm definitely going to use Temple now to not only just get the Snake Eye Ash on the board, but to start getting the Poplar and then other stuff as well, right? So it looks like they managed to mill Meta Noise, Soliac, and Rhino Heart. We're going to use the Meta Noise to wheel the Rhino Heart, looks like. Not too much else going on in their graveyard, so that's pretty good. Like I said before, we're going to Ash for the Poplar. And one nice thing about having put back the Original Sin is now I can use Poplar to grab it here, potentially. Although, I don't think I even do. If I remember, I just grabbed Subversion anyway. Yeah, I grabbed Subversion anyway, because I'm like, I already have Wanted, so I should already have access to plays here, but if my opponent has like a Kaleido Heart on their end board, right, I'm definitely going to want to take care of that. Tried to Veiler the Rhino Heart here, but opponent does have these Super Poly, so not only will that Rhino Heart effect end up resolving, but this will also proc the Shiren fusion effect as well. Okay, so here, opponent's going to activate Kiklos, as well as Havness and a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, no, sorry, not a whole bunch of other stuff, just the Havness. I thought about Imperming, but ultimately decided not to. I wanted to save my Imperm for... Well, I thought about using it on Kaleido Heart, actually. Excuse me, let's take a sip of water here. Yeah, I thought about using it on Kaleido Heart, but then I decided not to, because I'm like, if they're just going to target my monsters, that's fine. But here I end up using the Imperm on the Kiklos anyway, so I definitely should have Imperm the Kiklos in the long run. One of the other reasons I didn't Imperm the Kiklos was because I looked at their graveyard and I was like, oh, they don't have anything left to search, but they do still have Tear Crime, which is definitely potentially a problem here, so... Anyway, they're going to set that Tearlaments Crime. I'm going to end phase Wanted, but they have the Ash Blossom. They have the Ash Blossom they top decked. Oh, it's so brutal. So at this point, I was actually feeling really discouraged mid-game. I was like, I'm probably just going to end up losing this duel, right? But definitely going to go ahead and, of course, play it out anyway. Going to use the Subversion to put back the Rhino, or Kaleido Heart, rather. That lets me use the Wanted to put it back to draw a card. We did rip Snake Eye Ash, so we're going to use that, but of course they are going to end up using the Tearlaments Crime, the one they searched to and everything, so yeah, I really should have just impermed the kick close search, like, well, because, again, my thought process was, I looked at their graveyard and I was like, oh, they've used their fusers, they've used Reinhardt, they've used their spells, what else could they possibly search? I'll let it resolve. But rather than leaving it at that, I should have actually thought, what else are they going to search, right? Because then I would have thought of Tearlaments Crime and been like, oh, I can't really play through an Omni, I should negate the Kikalos. Plus, I also didn't think about using the Imperm on the Kikalos follow-up effect, too. Like, again, if I had just been thinking a little bit, there's so many plays like this for me. If I had thought about it for maybe 10 more seconds, I think I would have actually negated there, but that's why it's worth it to take your time. Not too much time, of course, because you are timed for the round, but that's why it's worth it to take your time and think about plays, especially in board states like this. It's definitely warranted. So, we did manage to rip Diabell off the Maxi, though, so we do still have plays here. I get to Maxi, pitch the Poplar, and then proc both effects, Poplar to place itself, and then Diabell, I'm going to go ahead and set the original Sin here, which of course on flip up, sending the Poplar to grab Oak, because we've already used Ash, so, or tried to use Ash anyway. Oak is going to get negated by the Dragostapelia, but we're definitely not done here, not by any means, because I get to, well, I'm going to go into the Link Creepo just to cycle it in, right, make sure it's in the graveyard. And then now I get to link off the Link Creepo and the Diabell to make Dark the Dark Charmer gloomy. Now I can use Dark to bring back one of their Shirens, and then after that we can go for, I think I actually go for Selene here? Because I was going to go for Promethean Princess, but then I realized, wait a second, I can Selene access code, and I can pop everything, well, I can pop the Dragostapelia and Scream. Scream is fine to pop because they've used all of the trap cards, right? Like, I don't think they play more than one copy of each, so I think we're fine there. And then I can battle over Kaleidoheart, which will not proc its effect, which it's already been used anyway this turn, but... So I guess in that regard, I should have actually popped Kaleido and then battled over Dragostapelia to do more damage, but... We had plenty of time left in the round at this point, like, I think 8 minutes still, and I was pretty confident, like, they're in top deck mode, so... Yeah, I was like, they would have to peel, I think, exactly Reinhardt to be able to come back here. We both top deck triple tag. That's really funny, actually. But I also have Original Sin in the graveyard, so I can just do that and set up an OTK here. So yeah. Whew, that was a very, very scary duel. But the funny thing is, if I had just impermed the Kikalos search, they wouldn't have crimed, my Snake Eye Ash would have resolved, and we wouldn't have had to deal with literally any of that. So, although we managed to get lucky and win in the end, got to acknowledge my misplay there, which I don't think it was a huge misplay. I think especially in the moment, like, not only mid-chain, like mid-game, it's very easy to overlook stuff like, oh, they could search crime and screw me up that way, but also on top of that, just like, especially in a tournament, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit tense, but, yeah, we managed to come out on top of that one. Alright, next opponent's going to be CJ25. I was actually very intimidated to face CJ25 here, because I know I've seen their name in Top Cut more than once. So I'm like, alright, we gotta, I mean, of course, like, everyone who's entering these is definitely, or everyone I've played anyway, has definitely put up a good fight. But this was an opponent where I was like, oh, they're going to put up a really good fight here. So, we're going to be going second. Thankfully, we opened Maxi and Imperm, so... they're going to lead with the Wanted here. Now, as soon as I saw them activate Draw Phase Wanted, and they were on a 45-card deck, my first thought was like, Rescue Ace. It's got to be Rescue Ace. So, now you'll notice I did not Imperm the Airlifter here, which might look really weird, but the reason I didn't Imperm Airlifter is in case they had Emergency in hand. And the fact that they grabbed Rescue Ace HQ made me think, oh yeah, they definitely have Emergency in hand. But it turns out they actually don't. But either way, I want to save the Imperm for the Turbulence. I need to have more experience in this matchup to determine this for sure, but I suspect it's correct to Imperm the Turbulence, not the Airlifter, in case they have Emergency. Now, here I was scared they would have Emergency anyway, but here at least we have Ash Blossom now, thanks to the Maxi, so if they did have Emergency, we could Ash the Emergency and still negate the Turbulence. So, we ultimately end up being fine here. Yeah, second Flamberge is definitely not an ideal top deck, but... Also not ideal to have both call-bys here. It's just not good in this situation. Our hand's actually not really that great in terms of, like, just having plays, but we're gonna have to make do. So going to original away the Diablo for the Snake Eye Ash, add the Poplar, Poplar F, of course, for the field spell. Probably just gonna use the field spell to place Oak, if I remember right here. No, sorry, the Flamberge from the yard. That's right, I forgot we had a Flamberge in the graveyard. Alright, so Poplar is going to make the Link Rebo here. Also, the whole time this was happening, my opponent's getting priority passed over to them, so I know it's probably because of the face down card that's not Original Sin, so I'm very eager to get rid of it here. So as soon as I Oak and bring back the Ash, I'm going to link it off with the Link Rebo for the Nightmare Phoenix. And like I said, I definitely want to get rid of this face down card. I'm going to pitch one of my extra call buys here. Opponent chains it, it's Rescue, which, because they have Hydrant in play, they can use to actually summon back one of my monsters. So I'm glad I got rid of this when I did. This could have very easily messed me up later in the combo line. Trying to use the Divine Temple here. Opponent's going to use the Turbulence effect on the Divine Temple, which is actually totally fine. I also Ash Blossomed the Snake Eye Ash here. I hedged a little bit and decided, you know what? I don't want to deal with the extra body of Poplar on the board, just in case I am not able to OTK through it. The other consideration was to hold the Ash Blossom for a follow-up play, because I know they have Original Sin face down, but, like, I think I'm just going to win the duel this turn anyway, so. Alright, gonna make the Promethean Princess here. We're gonna do a Zealantis OTK, because we don't quite have the right circumstances to be able to access code OTK here. I just want to be able to remove enough of the bodies there, but I can Spell Trap Zone their Diabel. I did that one, so that way the Diabel effect wouldn't activate to bring itself back and be another body I had to battle through. Or, like, just clear in general, right? So now we're making the Amble Whale, and of course here is the Zealantis. Zealantis F will banish everything. This also means I get my Snake Eye Ash back. Not that I need it, but it'll just give me that much more extra damage. Really, Zealantis plus Flamberge plus Promethean Princess is enough for lethal. Like, that's 8,200, I believe, damage by itself right there. Gonna put their Hydrant face down, just to not... I don't know, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but just in case, just to not have to deal with it. Alright, Promethean Princess, popping the Turbulence upon summon, battle phase against the Zealantis, take care of their Hydrant field spell, and then I'll just smack them for lethal here. That's a pretty standard kind of Zealantis game, which I haven't had too much of in the cup so far. I think this might have only been my second or third Zealantis OTK. Like, in the whole Challenger Cup season. So it's a little bit niche, but it's definitely very helpful. Like, I would not have been able to OTK without it. And it's like, you have the room, the extra. So I think Zealantis is very, very much worth playing. Alright, Vagabond is going to be our next opponent. It looks like we're going to be facing a mirror match. Our opponent is playing Super Poly. Pretty interesting tech. I mean, I literally just said that, you know, the extra deck has a lot of room for this deck. So Super Poly is definitely tech you can play in Snake Eye if you so choose. Going second again here. Opening Valor plus Ash Blossom, so definitely love to see that. Oh, this game was kind of brutal for them. So, they're going to Snake Eye Ash as their normal summon. We have the effect Valor, so we can just fire that off and stop that there. They are going to follow up with the 1-for-1, which I have the Ash Blossom for. So, yeah, it's some bad beats for Vagabond. This is one of those games where it kind of came down to hand trap check. Although, you know what? Not really, actually. We'll see why later. Because that's one of the main criticisms people have of Snake Eye mirrors. Like, oh, it's not skillful like tier mirrors. It's just a check to see who has a hand trap. And there are some times where it does come down to that. But there are a lot of times where it doesn't, honestly. So, draw phase wanted. Going to pitch my extra Diabel for Diabel here. Diabel F to set the Subversion. Because we already have the Original Sin in hand. I'm going to Subversion back the Link Rebo, mostly actually to draw off the Wanted here. Just get an extra draw, see if I can rip like a Snake Eye Ash or something. We get a Flamberge, so definitely not ideal here. Vagabond has the Ash Blossom for my Original Sin, but we have the Cross out for it. So here, I was like, alright, I'm good now. There's no way, like, they pitched Nibiru off the 1-for-1, there goes their Ash Blossom. What are the odds the last card in their hand is something relevant? I even did think specifically, well, I don't have to worry about Nib because they already pitched it with 1-for-1. But anyway, we're going to Ash for the Poplar, Poplar for the Temple, Temple F to place the Oak, Ash F to sack itself and the Oak. summon out the Flamberge from deck. I'm basically just doing a very like standard turn 1 combo line here just to accrue damage on board. But the nice thing about doing the combo line this way is that it actually still plays around Nibiru. Like, that's literally what I'm doing right here. So, and this is also keeping in mind me not thinking at all my opponent had Nibiru. Because people usually only play 1 in Snake Eye. I say usually, but I think 2 is not like terribly uncommon. But here I am going to get nibbed. I'm going to get nibbed for my life savings here. Just about. Again, thankfully we did set up that Flamberge with the Temple here. So it pays. Even if you think they don't have it, it does still end up paying to play around the Nibiru there. Which again, I did not do intentionally, just as virtue of my line. But that's why we play lines that play this way, you know? Alright, Vagabond, it looks like they ripped a Divine Temple here. But that's not going to be enough. And now I know, I'm like, okay, well, I don't even have to summon here. I definitely don't want to summon, because that'll proc their Temple. So I'm just going to flip the token to attack mode and just smack them for lethal. So yeah, I mean, I won't deny that me opening Valor and Ash Blossom and Crossout was very, very good there. But there was still the second Nibiru to have to deal with. But again, because we had ourselves set up, like, if I hadn't set up the Temple the way I did there, we would have gotten wrecked by that Nibiru. It would have been very easy for us to get absolutely just destroyed by that Nib, and then not be able to find, like, a follow-up play. But we played around it, so that didn't happen. So that's good. Alright, this next game is going to be against Jeff Person. Jeff actually ended up winning the whole tournament. So very, very huge congrats to Jeff. I also lost to Jeff in top 4. And again, that, like I said at the top of the video, I played that match so sloppily. I don't even want to show it, honestly. I don't even want to show it, but, I don't know, I kind of don't even want to show this Swiss round either, though, even though I win, because this is, I'm not gonna lie, Jeff opened horribly, and I just had an actual, literal custom hand here. Like, that's 100% what it came down to. Like, look at this, look at this, look at my hand versus theirs. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna lead with the Draw Face Wanted here for the Diabell. I can pitch the Subversion with the Diabell, and then set the original set, and then actually get a draw off the Wanted before I even make my plays here, which is insanely good. That's why I don't even mind opening Subversion going first a lot of the time if I have Diabell, or if I have Wanted as well, for that exact reason, so. Pulling out the Snake Eye Ash. Jeff does have the Ghost Warner here, so that will negate my Snake Eye Ash. But we have the triple attack, which I'm definitely going to fire off right away. And so as soon as I saw a Kurikari Diabell Wanted, it's so easy. We just take the Kurikari here. And now I know they're on all gas, which makes going into plays here a lot safer and easier for me. So gonna link it to Link Kribo, then summon Snake Eye Oak that'll let me bring back the Ash. I can then use Ash F to sack itself and Link Kribo for Poplar. Poplar F is going to add the Divine Temple. We get to activate Divine Temple and then place a Flamberge from our deck in the Spell Trap Zone. Oak will sack itself and Flamberge to bring out the other Flamberge from our deck. Spell Trap Zone Flamberge gets a proc now, bringing back the Ash and the Oak. Now I'm going to link off the Flamberge and the Poplar in order to summon out our IP Masquerada. I have not used Poplar's Graveyard effect yet, so we can use that to put the Flamberge back into our Spell Trap Zone. We have both now, mind you, in the graveyard, so that's definitely very good for us. We're going to make the Promethean Princess and summon back the other Flamberge to our field. And yeah, at that point, we'll put the IP in our Spell Trap Zone, make Ambluale, and then have Imperm and Ash Blossom, as well as a full board against Jeff being on literally just Diabell. Again, just bad beats. Like, Jeff opened... actually, an honestly fine hand. It's just like, you know, a fine hand doesn't do much against a custom hand like I had. Well, I don't know. It wasn't even like the most custom of hands. Like, mostly opening Oak. I really don't like opening Oak, but I mean, you know, just any hand we have plays plus triple attack, I just feel like is a custom hand. I don't know. Okay, so Ash is getting negated. Snake Eye Ash is getting negated by the Imperm. Diabell coming down here. I'm going to summon out my Flamberge when the Diabell comes out. I didn't have to do that just yet. I probably could have waited, but I decided to just go ahead and shotgun it. Okay, so Jeff's going to link off the Ash and Diabell into Hita. Going to activate my IP in response. They're going to chain Wanted. That's completely fine. But I'm just going to use the IP to make the Underworld Goddess here. one of many reasons why I love playing Underworld Goddess. It'll keep a face-up card off of their field so that way Original Sin can't be used. And then, of course, also, even if they do end up using the Flamberge effect later, then yeah, I can just Goddess, Graveyard, Negate, and then we're good to go from there. So, alright, that'll do it against Jeff there. Again, I gotta give a huge congrats to Jeff, who played very well in our top 4 match, and also obviously played well to have won the entire tournament. So, GG's, Jeff. Not that game. That wasn't a good game just because I opened ridiculous and you opened, like, mid, but, in general, for your tournament play, very, very good games, Jeff. Alright, our last opponent is going to be Awesome Sauce, who was on Chainburn! Round 5 Chainburn! Not a deck you, most people want to play against in general, but especially in a tournament. Gotta give them shoutouts, though, for piloting Chainburn to 4-0 up to this point. Was, very, very good. This was also the same opponent I played in top 8, and while, again, I did win that match, it was just so sloppy, so... Alright, here we do open Ash plus Wanted, so we have the ability to make Omni Negates here. And I am definitely going to want to prioritize Omni Negates, because one thing I will say is that when I was in the Discord server for the tournament, I actually saw one of Awesome Sauce's opponents talking about, like, oh, did you have Magic Cylinder face down? So, I actually went into this match knowing that Awesome Sauce was going to be on Chainburn, and that was confirmed for me when I saw no extra deck. I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely Chainburn if they're not on an extra deck at all. Like, I think even that would have let you deduce that, but, I mean, there's a number of things that could be on 0 extra. Well, I don't know, even Sun plays the pot cards, so the only other thing I could really think of is, like, Domain Monarch, but, so, like, I prioritized making Borreload and Baron here. I actually misplayed. I shouldn't have placed the Poplar in the Spell Trap Zone. I could have also made, like, the IP setup as well, but, yeah, I misplayed a little bit, and so I decided to just prioritize making, my Omni Negates, because I knew Omni Negates were going to be the most valuable thing to have, against a burn deck, right? So... but again, no, yeah, because I did see one of Awesome Sauce's opponents talking about Magic Cylinder, I did know that Awesome Sauce was going to be on Chainburn. That is something that you have to be mindful of in tournament play, like, especially when you're in, like, the top cut rounds, or, like, you're about to make top cut, or you're in top cut, like, keeping what you're playing close to your chest is definitely very important. Now, I don't know if there's much Awesome Sauce could have done to stop their opponent from talking about what they played against, but, you know, that's why you don't talk about what your opponent was playing in the server. It's just poor form for literally this exact reason. Another way that you can potentially screw yourself over by giving your opponents too much information is if you're making a duel room, make a new one every single round. Because if you use the same room for multiple rounds, what can happen is your opponent can go into the replays and watch them and see what you're playing before the game actually starts. That way they know what you're on and could even potentially, because of the Challenger Cup, like, switch into an entirely different deck just to counterpick you. You know, some people might think that kind of thing is a little scummy, which, like, it can be, for sure, but it's the name of the game, you know? And it's, while it does feel scummy to switch into a deck that counters your opponent, it is legal to do in the Challenger Cup. Of course, that does assume you know what your opponent is playing, right? So just make sure they don't. Make sure your opponent does not know what you're on. And again, it really wasn't Awesome Sauce's fault, but as a courtesy thing, if you have just played against somebody, don't talk about what they were playing in the server where everyone can see it. It is, again, just poor form for this reason. Now, granted, again, I would have gone for a board with multiple Omnis anyway, because of the way that we opened, right? I just misplayed a little bit by placing the Poplar in the Spell Trap Zone that prevented me from setting up the IP. In a normal game, I might have prioritized setting up IP over making the Baron de Fleur instead, but again, because I saw people talking about this person being on Chainburn, I prioritized making the Omni instead, and that did end up helping me ultimately win the game here. But I again have to stress that if I had played correctly, I would have had multiple Omnis anyway, and still would have been able to do what I did here. So, yeah, I mean, that's just another little bit. It's like there's so many small things that come into play about playing in a tournament, and that's just one of them. Just knowledge. Knowledge is very, very important, so try to withhold it as much as possible. I say as the person who's been advertising my list this whole time. If anyone wants to know what I'm playing, they can just look at like my YouTube or Twitter page and be good to go. But all right, so that's ultimately, I think, going to end up doing it for this video. This might end up doing it for the Challenger Cup tournament reports as well. Again, the last one, the big 512-person tournament, is later today. So if I top that, you'll definitely hear about it for sure. But yeah, in the meantime, thank you again. And especially, again, huge thank you to the viewers, to the viewers who have been supporting these Challenger Cup tournament report like videos. Again, the competitive content just does not do as well as the casual sometimes. Well, a lot of the time, really. But you know, like I said, I make the content I want to make. That's literally how I've always done the channel. That's how I'm going to do it. So again, you're not going to start seeing me upload Egyptian God cards beat Meta Slave. But no. I do appreciate those of you who are here for the competitive stuff. It really does mean the world to me. Just everyone who's watching in general, it really does mean the world to me. But that's going to do it for this video, so let's go ahead and just move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.